Hello, this is J.N.S, and today we are covering a very interesting topic, and I will be reviewing a book that I wrote and published last week. It is called Unraveling Epistemological Boundaries and Power Knowledge in the Outer Africa Theory, Introducing Simultaneous Quantum Biogenesis Theory. So, I first want to just tell you that this is very controversial, and it is what it is, but it's very concrete, it's very meticulous, and it is something that I put a lot of thought into over the last 2 years. So I wrote the outline for this book about a year and a half ago, and I just decided to crank it out this year. And to be honest, I have to say that I was supposed to be working on another project. You guys know that I was supposed to be writing a encyclopedia for Black Americans, and I started that and I got 200 pages in. However, the only reason why I couldn't fully concentrate on that encyclopedia was because I wrote 6 outlines for books in addition to that encyclopedia. So all of these outlines was produced, and I felt, as I was working on the encyclopedia for Black Americans, I really honestly felt such an anxious energy, like a panic. I knew I could pretty much get all of the other books done within 1 year. I could actually do all 6 books in 1 year if I focused. And I knew that with the encyclopedia for Black Americans, it was going to take longer. I knew that it's going to take way longer than a year to write that book. So I was like, if I reverse my schedule and get the 6 books done first, then I can devote all my time to the encyclopedia. And that is why I had stopped working on it, because I was like, okay, that book is going to take much longer. That book is taking more energy out of me. That book is heavily weighing on my spirit, doing that encyclopedia for Black Americans. It really was. So I had put that on pause. I said, you know what? I'm going to pause, spend the year, get these books done, which you see as far as the book on Tantra, the book on herbs and medicine, the book on this Outer Africa theory, the book about Tut with the cookout, and the book about breaking inauspicious barriers to build up your consciousness. That I knew, I'm like, I can get that done. And then obviously the Queen Mothership Part 2 Enterprise Architecture. I'm like, I can get all this done in a year, and then finally focus on the Black American Encyclopedia and put all of my soul into that. So that is why, if you guys are wondering, well, whatever happened to the encyclopedia? Because there were people that messaged me and yo, we were waiting for that. I would like to buy that for some of the kids in the neighborhood, or I would like to know more about that. And now I pretty much have the time to devote to that encyclopedia now. So it is still coming, but I wanted to get all those other outlines done, and this was the last book of that outline. This book right here was the last one, and it's pretty much me debunking Outer Africa theory. Even though the title is okay, Unraveling Epistemological Boundaries and Power Knowledge in Outer Africa Theory, because I'm attacking the methodology and the construction of knowledge, or how the knowledge is produced in the first place through certain power dynamics, and then asking the question of, how do you know what you know? What is your methodology? What can you ascertain as truth? And it's a philosophical, but it's also scientific in a sense, because we do go through some of the scientific methodologies that don't make any sense. We go through some of the existing scoping review of the frameworks and the theories that are all out there. There is more than just one theory on human origins, that it's not propagated, but I cover all that in the book. So we're doing an audio reading. This will be an audio reading of the book, and this is for Black Americans, and particularly, again, all of this work is done to preserve the ethnicity of the Black American, to stop ethnocide. A lot of you guys don't know that, how you being constantly given an African jacket, or everything you do being Africanized, and your culture being expected to be given to a whole world, or you being expected to pay homage to a continent 5,000 miles away that never did shit for your ass in 500 years. I'm just done with it. I find it incredulous. I find it epistemic colonial violence. I think it's high-level social engineering programming that is nefarious. And I call it out and I break it down. And I know everybody's brainwashed. You got all these Africans is brainwashed as hell. And it's also, they don't understand like how certain things being produced about them through academia does not serve them either. Just like it doesn't serve the Black American and melanated people globally. And I say that. And that is why I felt so compelled. I said the reason why they can Africanize everybody dark skinned that don't got nothing to do with that continent is because of production fields of knowledge, such as the Out of Africa theory, such as Pan-Africanism and African studies and this obsession, you know. And, you know, you got the people from, you know, say like the Jawara Indians, dark skinned just like the Senegalese. They've been over in India for 60,000 years. You got the Aboriginals in Australia, been over there for 35,000 years. Well, I'm sorry, way longer than that. Let me take that back, 72,000 years. Then you got the people of Melanesia, been over there for 50,000 years, dark skinned. You got the people of Fiji. They descend from Melanesia, but they've been in Fiji for 3,500 years. Then you got the people, dark skinned people, you got Mesoamerica that were brown skinned, all in South America. But all of a sudden, so you got dark skinned people everywhere, all over the continent, all over the world. And of course, you got the dark skinned people in Africa. But then when it comes to North America, knowing how hot it gets in the South in terms of the sun and melanin, and there is no dark skinned people indigenous to the North America, but everywhere else you could find dark skinned people. But when it's North America, oh no, you have only had to get here because you were African. And then they telling all the other groups of people that they come from Africa. And then this is what it's allowing. This is, again, epistemic violence that allows through linguistic imperialism and knowledge production to exert control and influence over other people's land through knowledge power. And that's why I said knowledge power in the Out of Africa theory. And again, this takes a high level of intellect to even understand what I'm saying. Like, to be honest, and I'm not being braggadocious, but this is going to fly over a lot of people's head, this book. It is. You will most likely be from academia or be from someone that's self-taught, that's very knowledgeable about certain scientific fields, construction of knowledge, philosophy, sociology, chemistry, archaeology, paleoanthropology, biochemistry, quantum physics. You need to have a background in all this shit to even follow me. And I'm not trying to, you know, I catch people up. Like if you take the time to, you know, not so much want to combat me, but just like, okay, take the time to understand me, you will be able to get what I'm saying. You know what I mean? But I know a lot of people are going to have a knee-jerk reaction to this shit. You're going to have you're saying Out of Africa theory, oh my gosh. When I got the interview of the person who came up with the theory, Christopher Stringer, straight up saying himself, you know what, I got some, I might have been wrong on it, you know, like, he ain't say it like that, but I put even his words verbatim in the book about how he was saying it's not just Africa. It's not as cut and dry as I once thought it was as far as human origins. And even, you know, it involves more continents than Africa, more regions possibly. Now, he's obviously, he the one that caused all this, so he got to stand on this square. And that's a British white man. You know, he from the Royal Fellow Society and all that stuff. So he got to stand on the square of knowledge that he produced to that field. But even he says out of his mouth that, you know, I don't know, you know, so it was important for me to want to talk about this Out of Africa theory because, again, this is how they're using the certain ways that you produce knowledge that keeps power in place. If you could disseminate what someone thinks about themselves, how they think, and you can control what they think about themselves, and you can program to believe certain narratives, then that's how you maintain your power. And power is wielded out through the academic institutions, through media, through obviously the military, through politics. It's everywhere. So when you understand power, and this is coming from Michel Foucault, I have to give credit due, and a bunch of references, everything, that I say, I do give people credit if I was inspired by their theory. And obviously, power knowledge is a huge theory in sociology by Michel Foucault and philosophy as well. And so those who know, they're going to know and be like, okay, she's talking about power knowledge and the production of education and the production of theory and knowledge production itself. Okay. So that's where she's rooting this in order to say how the Out of Africa theory ethnocides and erases Black Americans, as well as the other people on their damn landmass, as well as the Aborigines in Australia, as well as the Melanesians, as well as the Caribbeans. Now, they don't want to ever admit this because, again, everybody is brainwashed. So they thinking like, you guys have to say that you're African. You have to not deny this or else that you're self-hating, when I don't have a problem being melanated. And I'm going to keep it a buck. Like, we go through the chemical formations of what necessitate life. How you cannot prove that melanin originated in Africa. You can prove that melanin originated out of space, though. You can prove that. But you cannot tell me if it gets hot as hell in India, it gets hot as the sun is shining all over the world, and the sun is shining in America, it getting hotter in Georgia and Florida than it does in Kenya. If you can show that the Caribbean is hot as hell, melanin is a protection mechanism, a semiconductor that helps obviously protect you from radiation. How are you just going to say that this, okay, you're dark skin, that means you had to have come from Africa, but the sun shine everywhere. So I break that down scientifically in terms of where melanin comes from, what melanin does for the body, as well as the chemicals that necessitate life. Because what I do is I study the origins of life, which is different than the origins of human life. So you have to combine the two. And that's what I don't like about the Out of Africa theory. How do you study the origins of human life, but don't bring in the origins of life itself? Because there are 3 factors that give you a living organism, a living cell. I talk about this in the book. We go deep. I take the idea of human origins out of the realm of anthropology and paleoanthropology and put it in multidisciplinary fields and combine them. Biology, biochemistry, quantum physics, and chemistry and geology. To me, it's like you need multiple fields to understand that, because you have to understand what gives the formation of life. So to me, this is what I'm saying, the dangers of this and the fact that nobody studies this in depth, and they just run with, they said we come from Africa, because you think that gives yourself a sense of self-esteem to know that, okay, all life started in Africa and we all Black and all this nonsense. Here's the thing. Dark-skinned people are original to planet Earth. They are the first people on this planet. That doesn't take away from Africans being over in Africa first and being on that continent first. Same with whoever the other melanated people were. You are the first people on the planet. And another thing was so fascinating, when you study melanated people's indigenous stories, whether they're in Africa, whether they're in North America, South America, India, what do they tell you? They are polygeneticists by nature. Their creation stories and their early forms of scientific inquiry are polygeneticists. That's just a fact. And what else do they tell you? What do every melanated culture keep bringing up? What do every melanated culture creation story talk about in terms of their human origins? What do they tell you? What do they say? Nobody wants to study. You want to go with the white man's version. You don't study your own shit. It tells you things about the Orion Belt, things about Sirius A, Sirius B, Sirius C. It gives you details about the ideas of electromagnetism, the 4 forces of the universe: nuclear radiation, weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force, electromagnetism, gravity. It talks about that. It talks about, some of us come from Sirius A, Sirius B, different star systems, different constellations, Orion's belt. It gives you some of the chemical formations of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon. These cultures are talking about this from thousands of years ago. Why would you negate a polygeneticist creation story that details physics and early forms of chemistry and stars and the universe for some ape shit that you evolved from some apes, and you evolved from you got a common ancestor with an ape? and Africa, and then you evolved and you mixed in with Neanderthal and traveled out to the rest of the world and found dinners. Come on now. Come on. Y'all could do better than that. And it's sickness and mind sickness that melanated people just go along with whatever somebody tell them. I knew that shit didn't sound right. I'm like, nah, something ain't right about that. And my thing is, if I was a European and I needed to do imperialistic measures on other people's landmass, and I realized that everybody was dark skinned on all the other land masses, yeah, I think I would develop subliminal mind control programming to control what them people believe about themselves by getting them to disconnect with their land, by trapping them in a time paradigm and the land paradigm, removing them from their land mentally and psychologically. That's power. That's warfare. Why don't y'all see that? Why can't y'all see that? That's the first step that you have to do. It's just common sense. I'm speaking from somebody that's a strategist and study military science. Like that's literally. I'm not saying it's right. It's obviously wicked. It's obviously unrighteous. But I'm saying if you want to take somebody, I'm just saying objectively, if you want to remove somebody psychologically and mentally off of their land, you got to place them in another landmass. You got to break their culture. You got to break their mind about what they feel about themselves. You enslave them, tell them they can't read, tell them they can't write, beat their ass every day for something. You exert control and power over them that way. But you got to remove them from that land for them to give the land to you so that you can take over the land. You got to do that stuff through the mental realm and the spiritual realm before you can do it in the physical realm. And what they did, this is what they did to melanated people globally. Told everybody, okay, y'all all Africans. You come from Africa. Out of Africa theory. Okay. The indigenous in North America, the indigenous in the Caribbeans, the indigenous in South America, the indigenous in Australia, the indigenous in India, the indigenous wherever, the Melanesia, the Southeast Asia, the dark-skinned people in Southeast Asia, all of y'all are from the African diaspora because of the out of Africa theory and Pan-Africanism, and you all traveled from out of Africa about 50,000, 200,000 years ago and evolved into Homo sapien, all that, That's how we gonna do it. We gotta do it through knowledge production, power, knowledge. You gotta do it through epistemic violence, colonial epistemology. And that's why I'm like, I know right now that I'm way too early with my stuff. Like, y'all cannot relate to nothing I'm saying. Like, people try to write me off. They damn sure don't openly say, I want to debate her or I challenge her. Nobody does that. Because people low key know what I be saying makes sense. But they have to keep the engine going. They got to keep the regime going. They got to keep their oath. They got to keep this bullshit system going. Brainwashed, programming, all this stuff. They got to keep it going. So I ain't gonna ever get no shaking. And that's fine with me. Because I know 100, 200 years from now, everybody gonna be all over the stuff that I produce. I'm good with that. But it's like, this out of Africa theory, I am debunking it for the protection of the Black American. And by proxy, all the other melanated groups, they prevent their own ethnocide via flat blackness and via this out of Africa theory. They are latent byproducts of that protection as well. But I know for a fact what I was seeing with this Black American was pure erasure, pure ethnocide, pure Africanizing, all of our culture being stolen. Like, even little cool things that we've come up with, all of a sudden you got these random Africans and all this telling us that we have to give them credit for it. Our hip hop, our jazz, our neo soul, our gospel. My thing is, if you invented it, why you don't have nothing similar in your own continent? If you could, you should be able to draw some type of parallels within the music genre creation itself that predates what the Black American has done in this country. And you can't do it. Where's your version of the jazz and the blues and the gospel and the ragtime? Where is your version of the hip hop and the neo soul and the R&B? Where is your version? Like, I'm trying to, where's your version of the fried chicken and the mac and cheese? Where's your version of smoked meats? like the Black American does? Where is your version of daddy long leg dolls like the Black American does? Where is your version of these things? Why do you think that I have to give you credit for it? Oh, because of African theory, Pan-Africanism, and the transatlantic slave trade, and all this. All this is a whole big knowledge production repository of imperialistic, epistemic knowledge power. That's all it is. Psychologically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually breaking the Black American from their land, breaking them from their identity and embracing their own identity. Even if you did come from there, shit, it's been 500 years. You're a whole new person now. You still don't have to be ethnocided and told that you got to give everything that you produce and everything that you create to a continent 5,000 miles away. And this is not no beef with Africans, because there's nothing wrong with Africans, and I don't have no problem with them. I'm deeply, deeply, deeply annoyed that they go along with the system and don't challenge it. I'm deeply annoyed by that. I'm deeply annoyed that they're not doing their own knowledge production regarding their own history, their own human origins. I'm deeply annoyed that they're not doing their own scientific inquiry outside of the realm of anthropology by studying their own creation stories and their own narratives to align it with science. I'm deeply annoyed that they don't do that. To me, it's like their mind is too colonized for me still. And that can be offended. It is not all of them. It's not all of them. But to me, and it may come off like, oh, why do you hate Africans so much? To me, I just don't see them doing the introspection and the work, the shadow work. I don't see them doing the work to deconstruct the colonialist mindset, to deconstruct the psychological enslavement. And I don't even see a fight for their own empowerment for that continent. I don't see the protection of that land in Africa. Like, there's fleeing everywhere. And it's like, if there's somebody can remove you from your land, they can trap you in a time paradigm, the ego paradigm, and the psychological enslavement paradigm, the mind control paradigm. And when I see them they want to go to other people's countries and become that other ethnicity, particularly my ethnicity, but then disrespect my ethnicity, and then try to force their identity on me. That's crazy. Of course I'm going to fight back against that. There is no universe in which that makes sense. There is no universe in which that is logical. They did not do the work to deconstruct the stories told about them regarding that out of Africa theory and their human origins. And that to me is disappointing, because it's like, why would y'all just go along with whatever some white guy that colonized your ass for 500 years is telling you? And I'm not saying Christopher Stringer himself did it, but I'm saying the fields of these knowledge bases come from them. Why aren't y'all challenging that and studying that and saying, you know what, I want to come up with my own shit? And that's what the Black American is doing. And I am personally doing that for the Black American. We coming up with our own shit. We're going to have our own theories on stuff. Our own theories of where the Black American come from. And where melanated people come from. Where the African come from. Because y'all not doing it. You claim we came from you. But it look like you come from us. Because I'm the one, and my people are the ones that's coming up with the frameworks for empowerment, with the frameworks for deconstructing imperialistic linguistics, coming up with the frameworks for deconstructing knowledge power in education, and protecting against ethnocide, and protecting against structural racism. It's my people doing all of that. What are y'all doing to actually help us in this fight? And yes, the out of Africa theory comes from that. But you think because, the ego. See, they trapped you in the ego paradigm. And you can't even see it. Because, we the first, they trying to tell you think that it's an honor to be, we the first people on the planet, and they're saying that, everybody come from us. So you feel like you got to hang on to that theory instead of studying its methodology and seeing how a lot of it is illogical. A lot of it doesn't make sense, and coming up with your own, because your own will point you still to your own empowerment. Coming up with your own theory about your human origins as Africans will still empower you and will still give you that self-esteem, knowing that you're intergalactic being, interdimensional beings, spirits in a human body, dealing with melanin, dealing with coming from Africa. You can still develop your own theories and scientific inquiries that centers you, that centers the African. You don't have to rely on the white people to do that to you, where they actually are using that as, again, all warfare is based on deception, honey. And you're not seeing that. So you think, okay, you don't see the play in it. I can see the play in it because I'm the one that we're the ones getting ethnocided. So you still can't see the play in it, because I honestly think, I ain't gonna go there. But I'm just letting you know, you can come up with your own theories of science. And that's what I encourage the African to do. That's what I encourage melanated people, the Caribbean to do, the Black American to do. You come with your own scientific inquiry. You come up with your own knowledge base. You don't have to just take what somebody just gives you. You better rip that stuff to shreds. You better study the methodologies and see, okay, what's the technology y'all using to even make all these claims? You talking about you got DNA, satellite DNA and all this stuff? Oh, you got to study that. See how to rip that apart. You talk about they using the potassium argon dating and carbon 14 radiocarbon 14 dating and all this stuff. Oh, I want to study what all this is. And that's how I was able to attack it and debunk it, because I'm like, the methodology is faulty. So the limitations are there. So then I can actually present logical. Now I can deductively, through logic, fuck up your shit. Now I can actually use melanated people's creation stories, which are polygeneticists, which are based in polygenetics, and rely on heavily on the cosmos and the universe. All of our stuff really relies on the universe. Like, I'm like, this is crazy to me how nobody is putting two and two together. So you got the field of chemistry, and I'm not knocking these fields, because a lot of these fields, chemistry, we all know that comes from melanated people. You know, ideas of biology and ideas of quantum physics. Physics comes from melanated people. I mean, it wasn't called physics, but this idea of electromagnetism and gravity and levitation and all that shit is old. How do you think the pyramids were built? Through electromagnet? Here's the big secret. The pyramids and all that stuff and all these cool little, how did it get there? We don't know how it was built. Electromagnetism, levitation, frequency. It's stuff that they're hiding from you. And yeah, I know you're like, okay, who the fuck are you to tell us? I mean, it's obvious. I'm not trying to like, I'm better than people because I'm able to crack into certain levels of dimensions and consciousness and knowledge. That's not what this is about. I'm trying to wake our people up and catch them up. I want them to really get into their higher self, and that's it. And I want them protected on this land, on this planet Earth. I want them empowered. And that goes for all melanated people. So when you're saying, are you debunking it out of Africa theory? We're not doing no low level, okay, we just want to fight and argue with some fucking Africans and all this stuff. No, it's bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. That's why it's called not power knowledge, unraveling the power knowledge, unraveling epistemological boundaries. That's why I say that, because I'm like, we really have to do the work of decolonizing the mind. Many of you are under psychological enslaved mind control programming. And it's frustrating. So, I created my own theory, simultaneous quantum biogenesis theory. And we're going to be detailing that in the book. So I just wanted to give you some background on like, why did you feel like you have to take our precious out of Africa theory away from us, Kali? Why are you doing that? We all know that life started in Africa. Wake the hell up. And it's just like, I mean, honestly, I'm like, you got to understand warfare, baby. I mean, y'all really got to understand and how you do it through knowledge production, and how you do it through linguistic imperialism, and how you do it through removing the people psychologically from their land. You got to remove them from the land paradigm. That makes it easier to enslave their mind. It makes it easier to take them off their land. Psychologically, that's what you have to do, and that's what's been done to the Black American. Now, not everybody that's Black American may feel connected to North America. Maybe they found African ancestors from the slave trade. Maybe they found, different ancestors from the specific slave trade and in the East Asia stuff that was going on with there. So that was going on with that. So that is possible that there are certainly Black Americans with the African ancestry and whatnot, so they don't have a problem with some of the Pan-Africanist ideology and some of the African power knowledge regime. They don't have a problem with it because they feel connected to it. I have a problem with it because I don't feel connected to it, because I'm not finding that in my genealogy. And even if I did find it, I'm 500 years removed, and I don't feel like I owe anybody shit. I don't feel like, I feel like I'm my own ethnicity, which is the Black American, Black Indigenous. That's what I personally feel. You know, and then you have dark-skinned people that were on this landmass of North America before the slave trade. And what's happening now is, now that you guys are acknowledging that, because we can prove that there were dark-skinned people on every continent before the slave trades, all of them. Now you guys are saying, well, you all from Africa anyways because of the out of Africa theory. Nope, I got to attack that too, because we're not doing that. This regime that y'all want to push, like this Africanizing that y'all want to push, is dangerous. It's white supremacy and blackface, to be honest. It's very dangerous because you're ethnociding and erasing a people's unique culture, and you're taking them from their land, and it's offensive. It's not endearing. It doesn't make me want to get along with you. It doesn't make me want to. Why would I want to be them people over there? Why would I want to see myself as them people over there? And they doing nothing to fight for their lands. They're fleeing everywhere. They got civil wars over there. I just seen a video of 3 African men chopping off the head of an African woman for sport and dragging her body in the middle of the street, and then did a flinch at her like, yeah, that's what you get, bitch. I got the video. I have the video recording of that. I hated that. Somebody sent that shit to me, you know, on the Twitter stuff. I hated seeing that. Then I'm seeing like all these African men beat these African women, beating the shit out of them, beating them. Knowing that they enslaved each other, knowing what they collaborated with the white man to pop all this off, knowing that they overthrew the Queen Mothership, seeing how they doing over there, how they not building up that land over there, they're not even protecting those precious animals. Why would I want to, knowing that they're still just giving access to colonizers for their land, letting the Chinese who never standing up for themselves? Why would I want to identify with that? You're not even giving me no benefits of that, even if I was. And yes, I love melanin. And yes, I think dark-skinned people are beautiful. And yes, I think myself is beautiful. I'm dark-skinned. I'm brown-skinned. Consider brown. There is no self-hatred with me calling that out, just because I don't want to identify with that continent. Like, that's crazy. And my peoples are Black Europeans. Black Europeans never identified with that continent. Are you crazy? That's like, man, like my people are Black Europeans and Indigenous. And my mom is Indigenous. And we got Black Europeans on my dad's side. And my dad never identified with that continent. Never. Never. And that's just a fact. Y'all can call the Black Europeans and the Moors bougie, stuck up. Y'all could call them, you know, they think that they are, because they are conquerors. And they do have certain things that is fucked up with the Moors. I understand with the way they think. I understand that Black Europeans can be problematic, especially to the Indian, to the Black Indigenous. But I can't sit up here and deny who I am either, because I've seen both on my genealogy. It is simple as that. I've seen both. And my mom always went by Black American Indian. She always knew she was Indian, but she just always said Black. It's as simple as that. It's like we all grew up seeing that. All of my friends were saying that shit. Like, we all know this shit. I'm from Buffalo. You Buffalo people, we all knew that shit growing up. We from North Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama. You all know the same stories. Y'all have the same stories of our Indian grandmother. All of us. So it is what it is. You can't just take away from our shit and then we do a genealogy and it gets confirmed. Or we find Irish, Scottish blood. We know that there was Black people from Ireland that came over. There was about 10,000 to 30,000 Black Moors that came over here from Ireland. And that's just Ireland alone. Come on, from the Norman Conquest of 1088 and the losing of the Jacobite Wars. That's not even getting into the Moors from Spain that came over here. Like, I don't know much about the Spain history because I've seen a lot of Irish in the bloodline, like many Black Americans. So many Black Americans have that, so that's not unique to me. You know what I mean? But you know, like I'm not about to knowing my genealogy. I'm not about to claim that continent. And that don't mean I don't love them people. I would love nothing more in my soul than to see that continent of Africa thriving, see them popping off, seeing them enriched on their own lands. seeing a Wakanda over there. Shit. Well, why wouldn't I? I would love to see melanated people globally empowered. That's just me. I hate it. I hated seeing Africa in that state. I hate seeing that shit. And I have been a Pan-African because I was under mind control programming from the academia, from the Western institutions, of them pushing that Pan-African ideology on us. We all bought into it, you know? And I had to break that shit. And I was able to learn from other people and other Black Americans who have taught me knowledge about, okay, this is how they doing the brainwashing. This is how they doing it. And I went and took it another step and really studied it for myself and said, you know what, they are. There is a whole knowledge, there is a whole power, knowledge, epistemological Africa regime. It really is like that white people created, not Black people. White people created this. So yes, I'm going to challenge that. Yes, I'm not getting ethnocided for nobody. I don't give a damn who you are and all this stuff. And I talk with my ancestors, and you go look at that video of Entrusted Melanism for empowerment because Pan-Africanism is dead. I give you the stories I've had about ancestors coming to me. I have a connection with my ancestors, and they told me straight up, you do not have to go and all looking in that continent. You just don't, honey. You do not have to give your credit. You don't have to identify with them. You don't. This is what they told me. And they were brown, dark, black skin. It was because some of them were Black Europeans, and they some of them were from some of the Caribbean too that got enslaved, caught up in the Pacific slave trade and brought to America. Some of my ancestors, they taught me in dreams. In dreams. They straight up told me, we not offended by it. And then the ones that did come from there, they are pissed at Africa. They are livid. Why do you think, even if you did have an African ancestor, they would be livid? Because that continent has not done anything for them in 500 years. They just sold them and that was it. Sold them and bye. Hope you die. So my thing is, we got to really deconstruct knowledge bases and start producing our own knowledge power. And start producing knowledge itself. That benefits the Black American. Everything that I do benefits the Black American. It's as simple as that. These books benefit the Black American. It's as simple as that, for their preservation, for giving them talking points and ammunition and knowledge for when people try to take them off their land, for when people try to label them African, when people try to harm them and brainwash them. They have the tools and knowledge to say, This is what I want you Black Americans to start saying. You deal with the idea of human origins through the fields of anthropology and paleoanthropology. And I argue that that's just not enough to understand the human origins of life because you do not take into account the origins of life itself, the chemical formations. You do not take in the fields of geology and biochemistry and quantum physics. Quantum physics governs the realm of biology and chemistry. You do not take into the account of how melanin could possibly be produced. You're studying bones with using methodologies that are very much limited through potassium argon dating, through radiocarbon dating, which both have limitations. And I get into that in detail in the book. I want you to say this. These methodologies are flawed, even stated by the fields themselves and the creator of the theory, Christopher Stringer. Then you get into mtDNA. You do not take in the molecular clock and the flaws within that. When you talk about mtDNA, you cannot root mtDNA to a landmass. I root it in the cosmos. You have to really go there. This is what I want you to repeat, because these people is trying to, they swear, and they try to, in the arrogance. I'll be watching that House of Consciousness, sometimes, I check in, because I used to watch it when I was a young girl, and sometimes I go in and look to see what they're doing over there inside of this channel and stuff, just to check it out. And when I see, some of the Aboriginals and they call American Indians, when I see them go over there and try to really get in the paint, against the out African theory and stuff, and I just be like, they not hitting it hard. Like I want them to go in with a fucking machete, like just chop a head off. And they to me, you gotta attack that methodology. I know if you're Aboriginal or whatever you are, if you're listening, attack that radiocarbon. Study that. Study the limitations of that, and use my book to do it. You can use my book to do it. And start getting into the origins of life, which is different than the origins of human life. These are two different fields, and you need to tell them, how dare you not combine those fields? How idiotic are you? You're just going to start it at some bones you found from 200,000 years ago, 400,000 years ago, using a flawed methodology and telling me that the human origins of life is in one fucking landmass? You're out of your fucking mind, nigga. That's what you need to say on inside of this channel. And they ain't ready for me. When I say, y'all think Young Pharaoh came in with that and blew that shit to shreds in 2016. That's why I wouldn't even go, because I'm not even trying to come at nobody, but I need people that's really well studied to even roll with me. I just would be getting gaslighted, and I need people that's actually knowledgeable about these fields for me. So that's why I would. I mean, it is what it is. And people could say that's arrogant, but like, you actually would need to be like a PhD or have at least a master's degree, or be extremely self-taught with a body of work, with an actual published body of work for me to even entertain that, to be honest. But I'll say, when I see the arrogance of them Pan-Africans, when they talking to like the Aboriginals, when they talking to, other, even Black Americans or American Indians who don't agree with out of Africa theory or Pan-Africanism, the arrogance from some of them people, I'm like, ugh. Are you kidding me? You sitting up there sitting on the necks of this white man's science and his ideas, and you really think you got shit figured out, and you didn't think to deconstruct their stuff. And I'm not talking about one of the Kemetic priestesses that, from what I understand, he comes from Cornell. I'm not talking about him. His stuff, I see a lot of the his thinking and his processing. His processing ability is credulous in the sense that he's trained as a scholar. And again, academia transcends the Western world. So I understand what it is to be trained as a scholar. It is a craft to that. So I'm trained the same way. So I see that in him, and I respect that. But also see how the Western indoctrination is also on him. I see that. Not the Kemetic stuff. I'm not taking that from him. I'm talking about when he goes into like, oh, we are from Africa and Africa shit. That, I mean, he's a person. If the Aboriginals and y'all can really study this book that I wrote, y'all will be able to debunk him very easily. And that's all I'll say. And you guys can say, well, who are you? Because I'm not well known, and I don't. But the thing is, I've been studying this stuff for 2 years, and I have been behind the scenes, and I'm very quiet for the most part. I don't really go on other people's platforms. I don't, market my books and stuff like that. I just put stuff out, and then that's it. But I've been seeing like some of the Aboriginals go on side of this channel lately. Baby girl, she's an elder, so I shouldn't call her baby girl, but I think her name was Chief Morning Thunder. And, I was seeing how they was trying, just the arrogance they came at her with. I was offended. And I'm like, I was livid watching that. The arrogance. These people were asking her these stupid ass questions, and, they trying to make her sound crazy. And she, and to be honest, she's a chief. She's not a scholar. She's not a scholar. So to me, she's was a little all over the place, or whatever, but that's okay. Because I understood her overall arching argument, which was, you cannot let these people brainwash you. You have to start questioning their knowledge base. You have to start, you gotta break the chains of a colonized mind. So I understood that aspect of it. But as far as like actual thesis and an argument, a scholarly argument, no, that was not there. So they were trying to make her look crazy. And I just really didn't like that. Seeing these people be psychologically indoctrinated and don't know shit, to be honest, and then to have them with this arrogance at this elder, making it sound like she's just out of her mind. I just didn't appreciate that. I really didn't appreciate that shit. I was just like, man, them people would have to eat crow fucking with me. I would, man. But what I want to say to those communities, this book will help you construct your arguments better. Because again, you really want to start to attack the methodologies and the limitations of the methodologies that they're using to produce that science. Then you want to get into your alternative sciences, and you can actually build upon stuff that's already in existence. Again, the field of chemistry, the field of physics, and really get into the origins of life and combine it then with human origins. You can do that. Like with me, I combined both. But I just took it out of the field of paleoanthropology and paleontology. And so I wanted to say that because that really bothered me, and that really bothered me. And I also want to say the last thing, and really knocking this stuff out the park, Black American, for those who can follow me, because I know some of you love your DNA test. But the last thing that we're going to attack, and I'm gonna put the knowledge out there, and I just want you guys to regurgitate it. I'm still working on it, and I'm developing the framework for knocking that DNA test stuff out of the ballpark, because that's their last thing that they clinging to. That's their last hope. And I'm like, attack. Black Americans, attack that with your hands and feet, and tear that to shreds. But we got to do it very meticulously. So what I'm doing now is I'm studying it, because I don't come out just sounding crazy. You know what I mean? I'm studying it, seeing. And there's two different types of, got the parental DNA, paternal DNA, and then you got ancestry DNA. Remember, they always mix those two up. They always say, "Oh, I can use the test to prove my parents, and I can prove, and I could." So that's different from the ancestry test, and you guys get that for the most part. But we really want to get into the science of that. I'm studying that, and when I get done, because right now I'm gonna go back. I gotta write this encyclopedia, so I'll probably take about 15 minutes every day to really study that field. So I don't know when I'll have that out, but when I get that out, I will do a YouTube video on that and just freely make that available. And I want Black Americans, I want y'all to regurgitate them points. I want y'all to, because that's their last hope. And my thing is, I wouldn't have came for them had they just respected the Black Americans' right to their own ethnicity. I wouldn't have came for them. My thing is, I probably wouldn't have been thinking that hard. See, the thing is, they fucked up trying to flat blackness us to death, and Pan-Africanist us to death, and out of Africa theory us to death, and erase us, ethnocide us, try to steal our reparations claim, disrespect the Black American, disrespected us on levels I've never seen. Align with white supremacy is what they did. They blew their cover. See? They blew their cover, didn't they? By doing all of those things. Had they not do that, we would have still been in a slumber. We probably wouldn't have, you know what I mean? But I said, how you fleeing your continent and telling me that I'm African, but you now American, and then you disrespecting my people, and then you aligning with white supremacy? Oh, I'm coming for your ass. And that's why I said, you know what? I see how they doing this. And now I got to go after you. Psychologically and mentally. Because if not, my people are going to be ethnocided. If not, the Black American is going to be erased, ceasing to exist, because they're going to be galvanized and usurped under an African identity. And in 1,000 years from now, they won't be a Black American. They'll be weird. Oh, I don't even want to talk like that on here, be negative like that. But they will not be the same people if we don't stop this and nip this in the bud. They won't. And so I gotta stop it and nip it in the bud. We facing genetic annihilation as Black Americans. I'm not letting it happen. Okay? So that's where we at. And if y'all hadn't have done that, y'all wouldn't have woke up a sleeping giant. I would have still probably been talking the same shit that I was talking about years ago with the Pan-African stuff. But you showed your ass. You treated my people like horse crap. And I never respect that. I'll never respect how y'all came over to somebody else's landmass and disrespected them. I was personally disrespected by Africans. And I seen it, and I collected data on it. I'm deeply offended by that disrespect. And nobody wants to call it out. Nobody is calling that out. But when we bust back and when we speak up, We are the xenophobic. We are wrong. We are self-haters. We don't want to be African. No. But nobody, I got records pointing from 2011 with the hatred of the African, always showing their hatred towards my people. But they don't have nothing prior to that date showing equal amount of hatred. They don't have it before 2018. They can't prove it, but I can, because I collected the data. They have come over here to be extremely hateful to the Black American, and they have aligned with white people to do it. And I can't respect that. And I'm not telling the continent of Africa now. You just want to check them. You really want to sit down with them immigrants over there, with your people, before they come over here, and you really want to say, don't go over there disrespecting them people. Why is you over there going over there disrespecting them Black Americans? Don't do that. You better, if you don't want to do it, that's on you. But I'm telling you now, like, y'all gotta do your part. Because you want to talk about the Black Americans starting diaspora wars and the Black Americans are being xenophobic. It was you that started it. And I got the proof. And I want to tell this, and we're gonna go into it because I don't want to do no long, you know me, I'm long with it. I want to tell you this, Black American. You need to think of a strategy to make sure that this don't backfire on us as far as us calling out their hateful ways. You want to play victim strategically because you have the evidence and the ammunition to do so. When they're trying to label us xenophobic and COINTELPRO and hateful, they're only able to do it because you're not being strategic in how you present your argument. You always want to show the hatred that they have shown us. That's why you notice, like, when you ever see me do a video on Africans, you always see me showing their hatred. Like, you see me showing the evidence of what they are doing, the clips, the screenshots, the tweets that they say, the things that they're saying, the videos that they're making. You always do it that way. And then you say, see, that's why I want delineation. That's why I don't identify with you. That's why I want nothing to do with you. That's why I'm against immigration. That's how you do that. You got to say, look at your hatred. Look what you have done. I'm the victim. I'm not saying to be victim-minded, it's a strategy. All I'm saying is you do this and then you bust back. You show the evidence first. Always show the evidence first of what they are doing. And then you say, this is why I want delineation. And then you bust back. Then you show, what if I was the one that said this about you and your people? When your continent has the #1 in the world for open defecation. When your continent has #1 in paternal fraud. But why would you come over to my country where I'm minding my business and then dog Black American men? Dog Black American women? But what if I was to say that about your continent? Look what you said about my people first. And you always want to frame it that way. You always want to frame it that way. Because I'm not saying don't come at the neck of these motherfuckers. All I'm saying is show your evidence first. Show the evidence of their hatred first, always. Then you say, I'm the victim of your hatred. Therefore, delineation. Therefore, I'm against immigration. But what if I pointed out some of the things in your continent? That's the strategy, and it's worked every time. And that's what you need to do because they are the ones that started this first. You have not been hateful. You have been historically Pan-African. You have been historically wanting to connect with them. You have always been loving. You have always been caring more about them than you care about your fucking self. Always. But no more. No more. Black American, no more. Say it. No more. And maybe one day, when they get some act right, we're going to do entrusted melanism framework. We're going to be able to reiterate the process and work together through our empowerment. Sure, we will. But not until you acknowledge the Black American as their own ethnicity. And you respect the Black American and their boundaries. And you fight for your empowerment as an African. That's how we do this. Okay? So that's the last thing I wanted to say. Be very strategic. I'm disturbed by seeing some Black Americans, especially some elders, literally unprovoked, just take clips of African children with flies on their head and stuff and just put it on their Twitter and just be laughing at it, or take some some clips of some African children dancing, and it's saying they have nothing. Elders, adults, like in their 60s, literally saying, these African children have nothing on our children. Like, that's lowbrow. That's low level shit. You don't want to do that, Black American. You don't want to do that. That's just that's wickedness, and that we not like that. They do enough to where we got enough evidence to prove our point without having to do that. And I'm seeing them posting up starving African children. And all I'm saying is we so high level. We the boss. You know what I mean? Black American, you the parent. And you just don't need to get in the gutter like that with them. You just don't. And that's all I'm saying is I'm not saying don't bust back and, when they be doing all this stuff to us and they be doing all that. And one elder, she does a great job of showing what they did first. And she's one of the people I deeply respect, because I don't want her to think I'm talking about her. The ones that shows the evidence first. She does it the right way. So I'm not talking about her for anybody that think when I mention elders, like, oh, you talking about, nope, somebody else. And it's other Black Americans that's taking the lead of that and just just randomly just going on the internet and just spewing hatred. And I don't want us doing that, because it ruins our vibration. It ruins the frequency. But also, I want you sticking up for yourself. I'm not saying don't stick up for yourself. And no, you don't got to listen to me. Because I was trying to tell Black Americans, they was telling me to shut the fuck up and we need to do this because this is what they've done. And I said, okay. When they labeling your ass a hate group and putting you on COINTELPRO and all this stuff, go ahead. Don't say I didn't warn you. You're making it easier for them to label you. And to build cases against you. You're making it easier. And I was trying to prevent that. That's all. So that's why I'm speaking out on that. That's the only reason why. Okay. So again, I want to say that when dealing with this out of Africa theory, it's important to know that a lot of this stuff was developed because white people needed to know where they came from. This is their science. They're telling you where they came from. They know when they say they evolved and, the modern human, and that they tell you in their biology books that they only 10,000 or 40,000 years old. White people tell you this literally out their mouth. They know. So they're looking around the world like, okay, we see melanated people everywhere on the globe. Where did we come from? How did we get here? That's why they don't ever deal with the origins of life. They only deal with human origins rooted in bones from Africa. Because they know that they come from that race. They know that they descend from melanated people. And white people intuitively know that. And it scares them to death on many levels. But they want to understand where they came from. White people want to understand. They want to know. They're not wrong for that. But this is just why they develop their theories. And another thing that white people do is you can tell very clearly, if you study them enough, that they are a very new species to the planet. They are extremely new to the planet. And because they have hard time processing just very simple phenomena to me, like I read like a lot of things, just throughout passing. And I've studied many different fields. Like I would say, like even for like, let's say, the field of instructional design. I've studied that field. That's one of the fields that I have knowledge in. And I was just looking like when they study how children learn, like if you look at the field of like how they be looking at how children process knowledge. So for instance, like you'll see something like behaviorist learning theory. You'll see classical conditioning, operant conditioning, cognitive learning theory, behaviorism, information processing theory, schema theory, rehearsal, chunking and mnemonics, like these things that they come up with. When you start to really study them, like I've read whole textbooks in these fields, right? And I'm like, these people make everything so complicated. They really trying to understand the world. They are really trying to understand very simple phenomena. And I don't see how Black people can't see that. I'm like, they really telling themselves every day that they are new to the planet, that they don't have this all figured out, that they don't know how to run the planet, and that they can't get along with nature. And they just don't understand it. And they're trying to understand themselves. They really are trying to understand themselves and survive. And I'm just like, I really pity people who look up to them as like beacons of what it means to be in the know, or knowledge, or to people who value their way over their own. And there's a lot of Black people that do that, and there's a lot of melanated people that do that, especially Africans. And I'm just like, you can't study, like when I be looking at that stuff and I'm like, you can't tell that them people are the infant race. You can't, it just reeks of, I'm trying to process data. My brain's trying to process data from the universe and from the nature of being on this planet. Like that's what I get from them. Like clear as day, I'm like, they are trying, like, and that's what the out of Africa theory is. It's like, and that's why they, and another thing that when people think that they're so fancy in terms of like, oh, they come with, when you read that stuff, it's purposely, it's designed to be kind of very, very complex. And that's done as, to me, a technique to kind of throw melanated people off so that they think that it's actually like really solid knowledge. But when you start to really when you start to break their stuff down, I'm like, they don't have this figured out, and they're trying to figure out the world. You can tell. And even with the field of anthropology and all that stuff, and I'm just be looking like, and I'm not saying not all of it is credible, and I'm not saying that they haven't figured out things, or they haven't invented things, or they don't know how to run things, because they're very mechanic thinking. You know, and some Black Americans with the white DNA, a lot of us can relate to mechanic thinking. We can relate to system processing thinking. I'm personally, I understand what they're doing because I have, you know, obviously European blood in me, just like a lot of Black Americans do. So we understand that, you know, but it's like, there's no flow. There's no, like the soul flow, like the intuitive aspect of obtaining knowledge, and I'm pretty sure there could be some white people that have that ability, but I'm saying, like, and when I look at the field of their academia, I'm like, it's so mechanic and robotic like to me, and it's like, it seems like they're struggling to understand phenomena about the universe. And I find that fascinating at a time, because like it helps me understand them better. I also see their fear. I see their processing, some of their processing around some of the things that they do. You can sense the fear in it, in terms of like, they are really surrounded by, as a global minority, you know, surrounded by all these other melanated people that just literally have different genetics. That's why they're obsessed with DNA and genetics and where do they come from, human origins. Oh my gosh. You know, they're obsessed with these fields in biology, because they really are trying to figure out, like, damn, like, how the hell did we get here? Where is their history prior to 10,000 or 40,000 years ago? Like, when you look at melanated people and you be studying like when you be studying melanated people stuff, it's like, it's old. And we don't want to talk about how people like to play America and be like, oh, y'all don't have no pyramids. Y'all just got mounds, and that's not a pyramid. Do you know that certain governments, not just in America, but also in China and all the rest of the world, besides Egypt, do you know that they purposely grew vegetation all over pyramids to hide certain information from you guys, so that you wouldn't put two and two together, that all of the pyramids and all of these things are aligning with the Orion belt, and that these pyramids were designed via electromagnetism, levitation through frequency and sound, and Black and melanated people knowing certain sciences that are now buried and hidden. They grew the vegetation in the mounds over the pyramids in the Americas. They did it in China. What makes you think they didn't do it in America? Like, wake the fuck up. And the government of China did this to their pyramids. They look like mounds now over in China, but they were actually pyramids that were very similar to the ones in Egypt and to the ones in the Americas, and to the ones in the Mayan ruins and the Aztec cultures and all that. Very, very simple stuff. If they had it in North America, you don't think if they could show you this stuff in Mexico and whatnot. And now all of a sudden you think that they don't have that in America, North America. So they grow vegetations over this stuff. And I can prove that, now I can prove that in other land masses, but again, there's huge things that they want to cover up about North America. Huge things that they want to cover up about North America. And it's very sad that we can't see that. Some of us can. But, white people, they trying to figure out what they want to do and how they going to maintain power and how they all got here and their history and their origins. So they come up with these fields and they come up with their studying and with out of Africa theory, they come up with these things. And you can tell clear as day that they are very new to the planet. And this is not a dig. This is not like, oh, you're trying to, be racist and whatever. They will tell you themselves that they only 10,000 or 40,000 years old. They will tell you themselves that their pheomelanin is recessive to eumelanin. They will tell you that themselves. And that they have some genetic defects from, like, even, the being sulfur based. It's just as simple as that. They said that. They put that in their own biology book. Not me. I don't worry about them. I'm very indifferent. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And with me, I'm like, I just put all my energy into my people. I'm very indifferent to them. I don't think about them. I haven't seen one of them in about 8 months now. About a good 8 months. I see them on TV, but it's like far as like door to door, I haven't seen them. And I don't have hatred in my heart for nobody. I don't have hatred in my heart for the African. I don't have hatred in my heart for any melanated people on this planet. I just put all my energy into the Black American. It's as simple as that. So, I just wanted to say that, like, you want to really, when you really look at these stuff, and I know you'd be thinking, oh, this is so intelligent and this is so superior, whatever. I don't know what you'd be thinking, to just go along with their stuff. I'm not sure what is going through your head, but I just want you to know that it should become very evident to you that these people are really still trying to figure out the world. As me, as an ancient being, as an avatar, someone who understands various levels of dimensions, even infinite dimension, I can see that in them clear as day. And if you can't, I just want you to start to, develop more confidence in yourself and raise your vibration and start to see yourself as interdimensional and start to see yourself as intergalactic, as melanated people. And then you can start to see, like, you are the parent race. They tell you that. White people tell you that. So while they're still trying to figure out the world, they can do that. But they not about to sit up there and try to get me to believe the shit they believe. If that's what you want to believe and that's the way you figuring out the world and all that, do you. But you damn sure don't have the right to come over and tell me what to believe and think. You just don't. I come up with my own theory. It's as simple as that. Okay? So you have to do your own scientific inquiry as melanated people and stop relying on white people to do it for you. Trust yourself. And if the colonizer lied to you about everything else, why would he tell the truth about anything? Okay, you're an interdimensional being. You want to push back against all of this. Because all of this is to trap your consciousness in their computer time loop. But when you see melanin, and when you see yourself as a soul, an interdimensional and galactic and cosmic being, you can see the deception and start to come up with your own science. And I could see, if the conscious niggas was talking about, like, the story of the Dogon people, which proven, they have proven constellation methods that align with science, I could see if they were using that to, like, come up with their own theories of human origins and stuff. That's respectable. But I just don't respect how, like, these people in the conscious community are just using white people's science and then, like, and that's it. And they want us to just go along with it, And they think, again, I know they trick you with, like, using all of these big words. Like, if I was to read you some of the things that they be saying, and you'll be thinking, like, oh, they must have figured it out. So I gotta go along with it. Come on. Use soul flow. You don't have to, like, they thinking process. When you look at the articles, look at them scholarly articles. I've read so many scholarly articles, it's not even funny. And I just be thinking in my head, like, damn, these people, they really be trying to figure out the world. Like, it's never that complicated. Believe it or not, most of my knowledge base, a lot of the things I produce is from the intuitive realm. I just have to make it scholarly, so people can understand it. But for the most part, you didn't need any of these fields to understand yourself. You know what I mean? And when we think about some of the things some of the sciences that have already been in existence. Let me see. Okay, so we got all of that. And even, when we think about some of these sciences, because there's nothing wrong with science to me. Science is fine. It's the way it's produced. And it's who doing it. And it's the agenda behind it. Again, the power knowledge behind it. It's the methodology. That can be the problem for me. And that's what I will attack. But you need science. I mean, come on. We're really going to denounce the field of chemistry. We're really going to denounce the field of physics. Physics is in the Rig Veda. Come on. Chemistry, that stuff can be found in melanated people's history. I'm not going to just denounce that. And then we talk about the idea of medicine. And come on, you need science to understand it. Neuroscience. And so I'm not against science. Never that. It's just more so, again, who's producing it? What is their agenda? What is the power knowledge? What is their epistemology? What is their methodology? Who created it? What's your end game? That's what I'm looking at. And if I can pick holes in that shit, I'm not following it. So that's how and that's why I'm develop your own science, melanated people. Develop your own fields of science. It's as simple as that. Okay? And with anybody that's white that listens to this, you're running a very fast race. If you ran a very fast race and you have a limited time of when you would be empowered, it's all been preordained, and you are new to the planet, and you're going fast, and you're going to crash out, collectively. And I'm not denying that you guys have not figured out some things, and that would be a very stupid statement, for me to say that you cannot be smart or you have not figured out things. But I'm talking about, your nature of knowledge production tells me very much some things about you as a people that my people are not yet able to catch on to. And this is why we're still struggling to get a foothold over your system, that's dominating. And then when I come along, I'm getting crucified by my own people because they're so hooked on to your shit, And so I have deep resentment because of that. And again, I'm a galactic being, avatar, and I want humanity to raise their frequency and their consciousness beyond the paradigm of this preference of dominance and control, mind control. That has to be broken down. You guys are affected by it too, as white people. But whether you listen, you guys are affected by that too. My work right now is for this Black American. You can learn a lot from it in terms of undoing a lot of the bullshit that you have been dealing with, because you are just as affected, but you are also the one that is spiting your nose to cut your face. What is that saying? Spiting your nose to spite your face. But you are actually cutting off your nose to spite your face. You're very self-destructive. Very self-destructive. And it's something that you have to learn. I'm not here to guide you on your path to enlightenment. You can use my frameworks and methodology that I have designed for Black Americans to enlighten and awaken yourself. But I'm not here to focus my energy on y'all. I'm just not. I'm very indifferent towards you. And my thing is, I've seen what has been going on for the last 1,000 years. And My job is to help my people get in a better position. It's as simple as that. It's a very respectable position given that everything you have done to my people. It's a very respectable position. You may not agree with it. You may feel threatened by it. But it is what it is. It's where it's at. I have to protect my people. And I have to help them undo their brainwashing, undo what you have done to them. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to read the description, and then again, we're doing the audiobook. The audiobook is going to be right after I read the description. We're going to go into the audiobook. Remember, I will not be doing the outro because once the audiobook ends, that's it. Because remember, I found this very cool software where I upload my manuscript. They give me the audio voice, the audiobook, and then I'm able to put it on my YouTube. And I find that very cool. So I'll read to you the description of the book, and then I'm going to play the audiobook, okay? In Unraveling Epistemological Boundaries and Power Knowledge in the Out of Africa Theory, embark on transformative journey. In Unraveling Epistemological Boundaries and Power Knowledge in the Out of Africa Theory, embark on a transformative journey that challenges conventional narratives and explores the dynamic interplay between power knowledge, epistemology, and alternative theories of human origins. Delve into a world where the narratives of melanated people reclaim their rightful place in shaping the discourse surrounding our shared human history. Drawing on the foundations of epistemology, this book examines how the Out of Africa theory has shaped our understanding of human evolution and influenced the construction of knowledge in the field. This captivating book invites readers to critically examine the prevailing Out of Africa theory and its limitations, paving the way for a broader understanding of human origins. Delving into the realms of biochemistry, quantum physics, biogenesis, and electromagnetism, this book explores how these fields intersect with human origins, inviting readers to contemplate the intricate web of connections that shape our existence. Uncover the fascinating role of melanin, not just as a pigment, but as a conduit to cosmic forces, and how it relates to the origins and sustenance of human life. Through meticulous research, scholarly insights, and compelling storytelling, Unraveling Epistemological Boundaries and Power Knowledge in the Out of Africa Theory encourages readers to question established paradigms, break free from limiting beliefs, and embrace the power of knowledge to expand our understanding of human history. It empowers readers to actively engage in the process of knowledge production, encouraging diverse perspectives to be heard. From the examination of fossil records to the analysis of genetic data, the book unravels the intricate tapestry of evidence, exposing the nuances that challenge the simplistic Out of Africa narrative. Throughout the book, the reader is invited to critically evaluate the methodologies employed and to embrace the transformative potential of diverse epistemologies. This thought-provoking book provides a fresh perspective on the origins of mankind by exploring an alternative theory that connects quantum energy, the chemical building blocks of life, electromagnetism, and biogenesis. Drawing on a deep understanding of various scientific disciplines, this book delves into the heart of the cosmos, where quantum energy fluctuations serve as the spark of life's creation. The narrative follows the journey of these energy fluctuations, transforming into heavier elements within the crucible of stars before being scattered across the universe during cataclysmic stellar events. These elements eventually find their way to Earth, setting the stage for life's emergence. In its creative exploration, the book details the formation of life's building blocks through a myriad of chemical reactions on early Earth. It elucidates the indispensable role of electromagnetism in the formation and stability of these molecules. And they combine to form the first self-replicating structures, marking the dawn of life. Unraveling epistemological boundaries and power knowledge in the Out of Africa theory diverges from the conventional Out of Africa theory, proposing instead that biogenesis could have taken place in multiple regions around the Earth. Throughout the book, the reader is constantly reminded of the intricate interplay between cosmic and biological processes in shaping the course of human evolution. Though speculative in nature, this exploration underscores the vast complexity of life's origins and the interconnectedness of the universe. This book is a must read for anyone intrigued by the mysteries of our existence and interested in alternative perspectives on the story of human evolution. This book challenges traditional viewpoints, inviting readers to look at the universe and our place in it through a different lens. Embark on this journey and discover an exciting new perspective on the origins of humanity. So that is the description. And I love you, Black Americans. And now we are going to go straight into the audiobook. Enjoy the rest of your day.